How is your former high conflict personality relationship like a tornado? Well, you have to stay tuned to find out.
Hey, beautiful disaster. Yeah, you. Here's the deal. You don't need to have your life together to start taking it back. You are not too messy, too broken, too old, or too late to start over. This podcast is where we turn your chaos into clarity, your heartbreak into healing, and your mess into your magic. I'm Marilee Grace, and together we're rewriting the story loudly, boldly, and unapologetically. Buckle up, gorgeous. It's your time to rise.
Hello and happy Friday. I am Marilee Grace, and you are listening to Okay, So Here's the Deal, a podcast that's designed to help you navigate and build an amazing life after leaving a high conflict personality relationship. Before we get started today, I want to just offer a quick reminder. The content of this podcast today is based on my personal opinion and research, and is not, nor is it intended to be medical or psychological advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical or psychological advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. I personally believe that everyone benefits from the services of a professional licensed therapist, especially when going through healing after trauma. Now that we are good on that part, let's do a quick recap of the last couple of weeks. We have been building over the last 2 weeks to get to our topic today. We are going to be talking about trauma and healing. Now, the past 2 weeks, I taught you a few of my favorite grounding techniques that I personally use when I need to regulate my body during times of chaos, stress, and times when I'm working on healing myself. We also discussed the body's built in natural response systems, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Just to refresh your memory between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, the sympathetic nervous system goes into an autopilot mode when there is danger, whether it's real or perceived. And the response is the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. Now, to simplify that, I'm going to refer to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn because I get so tongue tied. I'm going to refer to it as the 4 Fs. So just think fight, flight, freeze, fawn when I say 4 Fs. Cortisol is going to be released into your system when we are operating in that 4F mode. When the danger leaves, our body is naturally going to self-regulate, or that is the hope, that it's going to naturally self-regulate back into a parasympathetic mode, which is your rest and digest, where you're going to be, your body's going to be storing up energy, where you're going to be relaxed, and it stores energy so that the next time danger appears, you have the energy to automatically respond and get safe. That's the way it's supposed to work. But that's not always the case when we are dealing with having lived with a high conflict personality relationship. Living in that type of a situation can cause our sympathetic nervous system to go into overdrive. The danger appears, and then it reappears, and then it reappears. It's subtle at first. It's not something that is just automatic and it's full on, but over the days, the months, the years, it wears down our system. And cortisol continues to be released and released and released. And as we talked, that's very dangerous. It wreaks havoc on our body because our body was not meant to have that overload of cortisol. The cortisol is what helps our body to respond in the face of danger. And like I mentioned, it can be real danger, it can be perceived danger. And we do tend to just stay in that 4F mode, cortisol releasing, and our body just has a hard time recovering. And then it happens for such a long amount of time that our body really struggles to go back to what it naturally was intended to do, to go back into that parasympathetic nervous system and get to that rest and digest, that chill and heal, like I like to call it, into that mode. We stay stuck. But if you remember, I did mention last week that it's not permanent damage. You can undo the the damage that is done. You can fix it. You can heal it. It's going to take some time. It's going to take persistence, and it's going to take practice. And I did urge you to be practicing those grounding techniques so that become natural, so that when something happens in your life, you can automatically go, oh, time to practice a grounding technique. What do I need to do? Which one works best for me? What would work best in this situation? Practice, practice, practice. It's going to help you in your healing process. And I want you to know that I know you can do it. Okay, so here's the deal. We need to discuss this. You and I, it feels like we're here together. You're listening to me, maybe you're watching me, and I can't see you. You can watch me, but I can't see you. I don't know what your responses are to what I'm saying. If we were sitting in a room together, I would be watching you as we're discussing this topic of trauma and healing. I would be trying to pick up on signs that your body is getting dysregulated. I've taught you the grounding techniques so that you can work on regulating your body in times of stress. And if you get triggered today, I want you to stop and maybe do the 4 count breath in and 4 count out, or in or out. Maybe you do some havening. You might even see me start to do a little bit of havening as I'm talking about some of these things as we get a little bit deeper, because I feel myself getting dysregulated. If you see me doing it, maybe check your body as well. I want you to do a scan of your body, and I want you to ask yourself, where am I feeling this right now? Um, I feel kind of off. Something's not quite right. Where am I feeling it? And I also want to remind you that this is just a natural thing that your body slips into to protect you. It's those 4 F's: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. That's the reason why I'm saying 4 F's today, is because I'm tongue tied. You're going to be responsible for checking in with yourself. Okay. I'll be checking in with myself. If you see me doing a little bit of different grounding techniques, check yourself as well. Say, am I triggered? If you're not, that's great. If you are, do a technique. And as we get started, let's start in a good spot. Let's set ourselves up for a little bit of positive feeling from the get-go. So the best way to do that, let's get into a position where we are grounded. So if you remember last week, that means, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, feet flat on the floor. So you get your feet flat, no crossing of the legs, stand up a little bit straighter, or you're not standing. Well, maybe you are. Sit up a little bit straighter, like pull yourself up. And you will notice I do use my armrests, like I said before. Today, I'm probably going to use the table a little bit. Okay, that's just what feels comfortable to me to really make me feel like I'm grounded in my position. So do that yourself. If you're able to take off your shoes, even your socks, so that your feet can be actually touching the floor, the bare floor, bare feet, bare floor, that would be great as well. Get yourself comfortable and let's get ready. Let's do a 4 count in and out. Repeat. One more. Okay, I feel much better. Let's go ahead and get started. So, how is your former high conflict personality relationship like a tornado? And how in the world did I ever come up with connecting those two things? Well, let me tell you, we have had a little bit of weather here in the Kansas City area. Last week alone, in a span of 5 days, we had three pretty significant storms, and they did produce some tornadoes. I got to thinking, how do people respond to tornadoes? And as I was thinking about that, I realized it's kind of like the sympathetic nervous system and how it responds to danger. You have the people who are going to go out on their porch, they're going to go out in the yard, they're going to look up in the sky, and they're going to see if they can find the tornado, and they're going to watch the storm. To me, that's kind of like the fight response. I'm going to go out and I'm going to be head on with the tornado. Then you have the people like me. I fit into this category to the T. They are going to be the people who grab the kids, grab the dog, grab your purse, grab the scrapbooks, and head for the basement and stay there until it's more than all clear. That's going to be the flight response. Then you're going to have people who sit there and they're watching their television screen, and it's as if they're frozen in space. They are watching all the news broadcasts, they are watching the radar, they're not moving, they're glued to the set or to their phone if they're watching it on their phone. That resembles the freeze response. And then, boy, bless these people. I do not understand them. They are so far away from how I am comfortable in a storm. I'm talking about the storm chasers or the amateur storm chasers. Whether you're a professional or amateur, I still think that I, I just cannot relate to that. They hop in their car, they go to the storm, wherever it is. They want to be in the path of the storm. They want to communicate with the storm. They want to be one with the storm. They want to get the very best footage. And boy, it makes their day if that storm just kind of turns and starts to come towards them. I don't get it. But to me, that's kind of like fawning the storm. It's kind of like, oh, I want to go play nice with the storm. I want to be a part of the storm no matter what, no matter if it could rip me apart. I'm going to be there alongside that storm. And that's similar to the fawn response of our sympathetic nervous system. So, yeah, tornado can be kind of like our responses to it are the four F's, can be the four F's, and your former spouse can be kind of like a tornado. Tornadoes are unpredictable. They can drop out of the clouds like that when it's least expected. Your day can start out beautiful blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. And in a matter of a few moments, everything can go dark and gray and black and green. And then all hell's going to break loose. That's your sign. Calmed chaos. You can later look back and see, after it's all done, the path of destruction after the storm came through. The tail of a tornado can drop down, wreak havoc, and then it can go back up into the sky and disappear. And you think that everything is all clear and everything's fine, but that tail can drop down again. It can drop down more than one tail. Tornadoes are crazy. They dip down and back and they wreak havoc every place they go. And even after You get that all clear sign. The tornado sirens might be going off and then they stop. I always like to pause. This past week on Friday, our tornado sirens went off. They stopped for about 10 minutes, then they sounded again. So I just stayed in the basement for about an hour. I was gonna wait till I was all clear for sure. But even after you get that all clear, you're kind of on edge. You're leery. You're watching the radar on your phone. You're watching it on the television. You're seeing the little ticker tape that goes up across the top to make sure that your county is in the clear because you're ready for it to drop again. Because it could. The conditions are right. It could happen again. And so you kind of wait. And it can be kind of a tense evening when there are tornadoes around and they're dropping out of the sky. And if this happens during the day when it's daylight and then it suddenly gets dark and black and turns green, and you know that the storm is there, then when it passes, the sun comes out and the sun dries up all the rain that is dumped. The skies turn blue. And guess what? A rainbow appears. And it's as if it never happened. Does that sound familiar? But you look all around you. And even though the skies are blue, the sun is shining, the rain is dried up, the rainbow is out, you see the destruction that was left behind, and you have to pick up the pieces. You have to try to make something out of all of the destruction and the aftermath of that storm. And all that destruction reminds you that the danger is very real. Now, if you live in Tornado Alley like I do, you learn to recognize those signs of bad weather. And you learn to recognize when when everything is kind of adding up to the possibility that there's going to be a risk of tornadoes. Of course, the weatherman's telling you that too, but you start to see the patterns. You smell it in the air. You can feel it in the air. Some people will get like goosebumps. Their hair will stand up, kind of the electric charge of it all. There will be sudden changes in the air pressure. The temperature will go from being maybe a hot and humid day to chilly. And the look of the sky looks different. When I say that it turns dark and black and even green, I am not kidding. And when a tornado is near, the sound, it truly sounds like a train. And if you are hit by a tornado, I've been in one tornado, but I was not in the tornado. It hit in the area I was in, and I got dumped with some of the debris from a roof from one of the apartment complexes down a couple from mine, and the windows imploded on my car. So that was very scary. But anyway, I have heard people give reports of they take a hit from a tornado and then there's an eerie calm and everything is peaceful and the noise is gone. But that is when you're in the eye of the storm. And you can't live in the eye of the storm. It has to pass through you, the other side of that tornado storm, because it's a cyclone. It's spinning like this. So that center is going to be more calm and quiet, but you're waiting for the rest of it to hit. When you live with a high conflict personality person, the storms can be daily, or they might happen every few days, a couple times a month, but it could be daily, it could be multiple times a day. Sometimes you can just feel the cloudiness. You can see that storm a brewing. You feel a little bit of the rain. You might get some hail. And then you might get those straight line winds that just knock you over. And you might get hit by a big tornado. You see this, you see the warnings, you feel the warnings. There's not really anything you can do though. And sometimes those storms that hit in that relationship come out of nowhere. No signs, no warning, just bam. Tail of the tornado hits you. Around here, tornado season is going to be from about April to about June. You might get a few odd early spring storms in March, and you might get an occasional storm later in the summer. But the most intense tornadic time is going to be that April to June window. So during that time, you kind of know what to expect. You are watching your weather apps, you're watching the news, you're checking the daily weather reports, you're really in tune to what outside feels like, what it looks like, what it sounds like. And you're ready because you know it's a possibility. And I have to admit that when we get to about July around here, I do breathe a little bit easier because I know that the chances of intense storms dropping out of nowhere, that they're less. Could happen, not as likely. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't get a little bit dysregulated during the storm season. When conditions are looking right, I get a little bit anxious. As a mom, I've learned to calm that because I didn't want to scare my children and whatnot. And I do regulate myself. I do deep breathing during storms, and I do some havening during storms just to help to regulate myself, because there's nothing that I can do to prevent that storm. It's going to hit. I can be prepared. When my children were young, like I said, grab the kids, grab the dog, grab my purse, grab my scrapbooks, and head to the basement. That was how I could prepare. It's not uncommon to have people ask you, why in the world would you live in an area where you get hit by tornadoes? Why would you live in Tornado Alley? Well, my response has always been, I've always lived here. I've always lived in a state that fell in that criteria, that was kind of that big swatch of area known as Tornado Alley. My children live in this area. I have a healthy relationship with the weather, though. I've had to learn that. And I don't stay in a state of hypervigilance. The storm hits, I go out, see if there's damage. I call the electric company to say, hey, my power's out. They get on it, they fix it, and then life happens. It goes on. And I'm able to live in a regulated life, regulated way. Because the thing about the tornadoes is they're unpredictable, but I know that it's going to pass. Danger's here, danger's gone. Now, I kind of hinted as to how this is kind of related to a high conflict personality relationship and the similarities. And that a tornado could, if you allowed it, to consume your life for 9 months and live, or 90 days, 3 months, you could live in a constant state of fear of the storms. And it does affect your sympathetic nervous system. You do experience some fight, flight, freeze, or fawn during storm season and during a storm. And it is going to have an effect, that natural effect. Your adrenaline's going to get going, your cortisol is going to be released. But when that storm is gone, you're going to return to the calm. Your body is going to store up the energy. Danger is past. All is good. But when it's real life and it's that relationship, how do you move past the problematic state of trauma and the trauma responses that are going off in your body? How do you create a safe space for yourself to heal? And I know it can feel very overwhelming because there are so many areas that are affected when you're living in a high conflict personality relationship. And even after you've left it, like I discussed, I believe last week, just because you leave doesn't mean that your body's going to naturally just suddenly regulate. It doesn't happen that way. But if you remember back to one of the first episodes, I did talk about the plane and how if a plane is flying and that pilot makes 1 degree, he's off by 1 degree in his flight pattern, he's going to land in a very different spot than what he thought he was going to. One change. That's what we're talking about. Do one small change after you have left that relationship, or even if you are still living in that relationship and it's something that you're just having to work through right now, and you haven't left, or maybe you don't know if you're going to leave, you can do that is going to help you so much is to practice those grounding techniques, to use them and use them whenever you're in a high stress situation. And as you continue to practice, it's going to become a habit and it's going to feel more natural. And you're going to just spontaneously slip into that. Okay, time to breathe. Okay, time to haven. Okay, let's plant ourselves. I got to slouching a little bit. Let's plant ourselves into the floor and our seat and the arms of our chair. Let's feel grounded. Something that women have shared with me, common things that have been shared with me is they are often told specific things, and it's eerily similar from woman to woman. You may be told that you're crazy, that you're the problem, that the problems in the marriage are your fault, that no one really likes you, that you're too sensitive, that you are always picking a fight, and that, gosh, I can never do enough to please you. You may have heard things like, you're too sensitive. If you wouldn't do that, I wouldn't have to treat you like this. It's your fault I'm like this. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And by the way, that's not an apology. That's not a true apology. This is the thanks I get after all I have done for you. Oh, you just make things up. There you go, thinking again. It's your fault I'm yelling. Nobody would ever love you like I love you. So many common things that are said across the board to women. It's as if they have this little club and they discuss what are the phrases that we're going to use to make our significant other, make our spouse, make our girlfriend friend feel like she's going crazy. And those are such triggering words and triggering phrases. And I want you to take a minute right now after I've said that. If you are feeling anything in your body, if you're feeling something kind of off, where is it? What part of your body is it hitting? If you're able to, take one hand and place it on that heart, on that spot. Now, for me, things like that land most on in my heart, on my throat area. So I would put a hand on my heart and I feel that warmth. I love feeling the warmth of my hand on my heart. I take my other hand and I put it on my tummy. So I just have a connection. I have like a circuit going. And during that time, that's when you can do some breathing. And I also want to encourage you to start adding some self talk. When you are feeling that stress, when you are something has sparked a memory or a comment has been made and you're like, "Oh, where am I feeling it?" Put the hands. If you're feeling it in your tummy, don't put both hands on your tummy, put your other hand on your heart, or maybe the other hand, on your neck or someplace on your body so that you have that circuit going. And I want you to start saying to yourself quietly in your head, This was not my fault. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. You're going to be thinking that in your head while you're touching and having a connection with your body where you're feeling that. And you're going to speak, it was not my fault, into that area that is feeling that trauma, that is feeling the stress and chaos, and it's starting to get dysregulated. Just touch that area. It was not my fault. And as you're thinking that, add some breathing to it. Add a 4 count breath, in for 4, out for 4, while you're thinking, it was not my fault. So it's going to look something like this. And I want you, if you're feeling it, touch those spots. If you're not feeling it, just do the hand and tummy, hand on your heart, hand on tummy, and one more. And you might be thinking to yourself, Marilee, I'm going to be walking around all day long, one hand on my heart, one hand on my tummy, one hand on my neck, one hand on my tummy, one hand on my head. You're not. You're going to regulate yourself. And if after 3 breaths, you still feel a little dysregulated, there's nothing magical about three in, 3 out. Do it for a minute. Do it for 2 minutes. Do it until you feel a calm. And I do have to give credit to my former coach, Sarah K. Ramsey, for that phrase. It was not my fault. It is not my fault. She had me do that. It's a very powerful statement. It's your truth. It is not your fault. It is not your fault. I want you to get so good at telling yourself that. And when you get really good at telling yourself that, you're going to get really good at believing it because it is the truth. In your relationship, you were told so many things that were not true, that were not the truth. You were told lies. They wore you down and you started to believe them. But in that same way, you can start telling yourself the truth. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. And you will start to believe it because it's your truth. It's the truth. You're not crazy. You're not unlovable. You're not unlikable. It is not your fault. So, anytime this week, as you're going through your week, and if you start hearing the voice of that high conflict personality person in your head telling you things that are not true, you're going to say, it is not my fault. You're going to stop that hamster from getting on that hamster wheel and running and running and running and running and telling you untruths. You're going to combat it. You're going to say, it was not my fault. And wherever you are feeling it in your body, if you are able to, I would strongly suggest that if you're in your office and you're able to shut the door, or you're able to find a little space, you're driving in your car, pull over, wherever you are feeling it, put your hand and a hand. It was not my fault. It is not my fault. Then breathe out. You are going to notice that you're going to feel a lot different about it. It's going to become an automatic way that you think and way that you respond to those triggers when they hit you out of nowhere, like the tail of a tornado. Now, it would not be me if I did not tell you that it might be a good idea to journal some of this stuff. It is not my fault. It is not my fault. Journal how it makes you feel. Journal where, when you are remembering the things that were said to you, and the lies that you believed, where does it hit you? What part of your body was wounded? What part of your body do you need to focus on for healing? And remind yourself, when this happens, I'm going to tell myself it was not my fault. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to haven. I am going to ground my feet. I am going to go outside and get some fresh air, some sunshine, and feel the grass between my toes. And another thing that I'd like to encourage you to do, this might seem a little bit strange. I'd like to have you talk to the part of your body where you're feeling it. Huh? What are you meaning by that, Marilee? I want you to talk to the part of your body that's wounded. So for me, I said that I oftentimes, I'm having an issue with my mic. I oftentimes feel things in my heart. So I wrote down what I might say to my heart. It might sound something like this. Oh, thank you, my heart. Thank you for feeling. Those were painful words, and you carried a burden back then. I am sorry that was put on you. I want you to know it was not our fault. It was not your fault. It was not my fault. Thank you for feeling. I acknowledge how you feel. Thank you for helping me to know when things are not right. I trust how you feel. I trust when you warn me. It was not our fault. You can think that to yourself. You can have just that little conversation as you are touching your heart, touching your tummy, getting grounded, doing some breathing. You've told yourself it's not your fault, and acknowledge the part of your body that's wounded. Acknowledge that there was trauma. It's not your fault. Thank you. I will protect you. We are going to heal, and it will make a difference. So I'd like you to try that. Try that this week. Remember those grounding techniques from episode 8? They are your allies through all of this. They are going to help whenever your body starts to feel off, going to help to regulate you. Use them, practice them, make them a habit. Make it so where your body, just as naturally as it gets into that trauma response and into the 4Fs, it realizes the danger is not there. And we go back into the parasympathetic and the rest and digest, the chill and heal stage. Now, if you are a reader like I am, I want to warn you, just give you a little warning. Do not, and if you've already started, hear me out. And you might want to put a pause on all the reading that you're doing. It is not necessary for you to read 592 books on high conflict personalities, toxic people, and or narcissism. You do not need to become a professional or an expert on those subjects. You do not need to become an expert on why that person in your life was the way they were. You might want to read one book. I'll give you a suggestion, but it really does you no good to become a professional at why they are the way they are. What it is important to become an expert on is your own personal healing so that you can live the most abundant, most amazing, most audacious life that you can live. Do that. Do that instead. Okay. So I am going to attach a list of books that I would suggest if I were starting the journey all over again. I wouldn't read all the books. I did have somebody tell me early on, don't read all these books. You don't need to do that. And so I limited, I probably read about a dozen, but I am offering you 3 books that I think are very beneficial to read. And then a fourth one that is So amazing. Um, Read that one for sure. It's by Dr. Romani. If you've ever listened to her podcasts or seen her on any social media, she's amazing. She's an expert in this area. And the book that she wrote, I believe it came out about a year ago. Amazing, life changing, wonderful book. I cannot say enough about it. So I'm only suggesting 4 books. 4 books. One, of course, is by Lundy Bancroft. He's kind of an expert. One is by Vanderkolk, The Body Keeps the Score. One is by my coach about becoming toxic person proof. And then the book by Dr. Romani. 4 books. That's it. I personally like to purchase books like that because I nerd out. I take notes. I highlight. I underline. I star. I write in the margins. If that's you, buy the books. You can listen to them on audio book. But for me personally, those type of books, I'm buying it, I'm holding it, I'm rereading it. Just know the body keeps the score, a tough read. It's thick. I started it 3 times. Finally, the third time I started it, I finished it. And there were times I had to pause and just let it sit. And that's okay. It's okay if that's how you have to read that book. It's heavy. It's a good book, but it's heavy. Now, next week, we're going to lighten things up. We've been kind of heavy the last 3 weeks. Just because we're lightening up, do not stop practicing those grounding techniques. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect, helps to heal. Do not stop doing that. But next week, we're lightening it up. We're going to be talking about dating and the dating apps. I personally feel like I'm kind of a professional at that because I did happen to write a book about my experience on the dating apps. I'm going to share with you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the absolutely ridiculously stupid. I might even read a few excerpts. Did I say that word right? I think I did. From the book. So that's going to be funny. It's going to create a lot of you're going to hear me laugh a lot, probably laugh so hard that I start to cry. I do entertain myself. Yeah, a lot. What a weird time in my life. Dating apps. Whew, never again. But until next week, remember, you are not meant to do this alone, and together we will continue to rise. Hey, beautiful. Thank you for spending time with me today, and congratulations for showing up for yourself. If today's episode was helpful, share it with a friend and let me know in the comments what resonated most. Your feedback helps me create content that truly matters as we grow this community together. If you haven't already, subscribe and leave a review. It helps this podcast reach more women who need this space. Okay, so here's the deal. You can find me wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. I'll meet you back here next Friday. Until then, remember, you belong here. It's time to rise.